Hello, I'm Ben Keaton, and this is Dirty Stupid Wisdom. I really appreciate you listening to this. You've put the time aside, and now here we are, and you're going to listen. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. So, children, they are just irritating, aren't they? They were irritating when they were at home, and now they're left, and they're still irritating. You know, nobody would mind if you just left them somewhere in a car park. Certainly other parents would be in full support. So irritating. I Am What I Am by Ben Keaton. I took out my denture, socially, in their kitchen, as they were preparing dinner. It holds one single tooth plumb in the middle of my upper gum, just above my left nostril. I smiled at Tom, a goofy grin, because he hadn't seen me do this before, and I sensed the impact would be significant. Maybe he'd spit out an olive, or Chloe would whip me with a tea towel. Something would result from it to signify my clown-like stupidity. But no. He was horrified. I mean, genuinely disturbed. He blinked twice in an effort to erase the image, and then gestured to Chloe not to look, like you would do if you came across a multiple pileup on the M25. Without my tooth, I look funny, but pitiful. Clownish, yes, which is what I was aiming for, but in a social setting, alarming. If I was a toothless guest in your home, you would lead me to the dinner table, tuck a napkin into my collar, and present me with plastic cutlery. If you didn't know me, you'd pray I didn't live locally. If I was standing on a street corner without my denture, you might leave some change at my feet. The social impact of losing a front tooth is to cut your IQ in half and nudge you towards a sex offenders register. Now that I know this, I live in fear that one day I'll end up in hospital, minus my dignity, and doctors will speak across me, saying things like, "Has he been to the toilet today?" And "Who is his legal guardian?" And yet, nothing at all has happened. I am exactly the same person without my denture as I am with it. Tom has seen me in quite a few absurd guises. He's seen me with white hair and a paunch. He's seen me with a metal leg, with a nose as long as Pinocchio. He's seen me covered in tattoos, with a painted mustache, with a single white eye. Of course, that was all costuming. This tiny reality was just too shocking for him. It challenged how he saw me in a way that was amusing. Identity is a fragile thing. We all know how empowering it is to wear beautiful clothes. Not only do you feel amazing, but you walk differently. I remember going down King's Road in Chelsea, in London, at the height of the punk era. I didn't know it was the epicenter of the movement, but I can tell you this. It was terrifying. The look of torn clothes, Mohican hair, and the vibe of bare, naked aggression was very challenging to a young Catholic virgin. Punk is commonly seen as a rising up of the disaffected youth of the working class, but it harbored the middle class too. That post-apocalyptic look defined a generation, much like caftans and bell-bottoms summed up the hippie era. Being who we are, our true selves, has become an obsession now. I envy my kids. The menu of self-identity has exploded. They can be heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, pansexual. The list is long and fantastic because it shouts freedom of choice in a way that my generation never anticipated. If I had known that the possibilities were so varied, I'm pretty sure I would have shagged everything and everyone. In my imagination, obviously. In the Ireland I grew up in, the only people having sex were either wed or ordained. In recent years, I've gone from being a married person to a single person. This has required a great deal of self-assessment. I found myself looking at my new home thinking, what colors do I like? What's my aesthetic now that I can choose for myself? I honestly didn't know. I could have gone gay. Barbie pink was a thing at the time. It was honest and liberating, but just not me, as I was learning. I fought against the cliché of black and chrome and went for blue, black, and chrome. You see? Yes, I'm my own man. Well, in fact, that was a thing. To say that I am a man. I am a man. I am. If I was at Man's Anonymous and introduced myself, I would say, I am Ben Keaton and I am a man. To which the room would reply, hello, Ben. And then I'd launch into tawdry tales of the decline of a perfectly nice person with potential into mandom. I am of the generation that evaded World War but destroyed the environment, that saw astounding corporate enrichment but allowed mass poverty, that corrupted capitalism and opened the door to fascism, that started with baby-belling cookers and ended with air fryers. For this, I feel disgusted with myself and my triple lock pension. Amen. To say what you are takes courage, even if it's the status quo. I'm humbled by those who take on a new gender and brave the storm of inequality and hatred. That courage is astounding in its honesty. To know that prejudice is waiting for you and still choose to be oneself, despite that, it's remarkable. I thank God that I'm a lazy, ungrateful, middle-class white male with no battles to fight. How lucky I was to be born into a good family and given a good education. My miseries are nothing by comparison, and I don't even feel guilty about it. That's how manly I am. I am. The thing with identity is that we humans are in a constant state of evolution. It doesn't feel it, but we are beasts of change. However, few of us have lightning moments of revelation. I've never heard a man in a swimming pool changing room suddenly exclaim, "Oh my God, I like cock. I didn't know it till right now, right this very minute. Look at his cock. It's fantastic." No, change happens slowly. Unless it doesn't. My son, the boy, and his sister, the girl, made their statement as soon as they were legally allowed. This took the form of tattoos. I love them on other people. I made that clear as soon as they became a trend. My mother used to say, the only people who wear tattoos, Ben, are criminals, sailors, and whores. She had the same opinion of gum chewers. So my skin is unblemished, and I do not masticate. That's a fact. You can take that to the bank. So the kids had strict instructions to stay pure of skin until they came of age. The boy booked his tattoo for the week after his 18th birthday. A fox, sprawling from his shoulder to his elbow. I did what I could to dissuade him, but, he just became more and more entrenched. I drove him to the salon. To mark the occasion, I decided to take a video camera and document the event. The inker was a Johnny Depp lookalike with right-wing conspiracy leanings. We learned that over the first 8 hours of needlework. I asked him what he thought of the material he was using. He looked blankly at me. "Skin," I said. "You're marking my son's skin. He'll be walking this earth modeling your artwork for the rest of his life. What do you think of that?" He shrugged. It was something he'd never thought of. I couldn't hate the man more. On the way back, I pulled the car over and set up 2 cameras, one for each of us. As we sat in our seats, I hit record and said, I want to ask you about what you've just done because I need to understand it. You know I don't approve of tattoos. I love them, but I've known your perfect skin for 18 years now. Your beautiful, smooth, white skin is part of your inheritance. It dresses you and lacks for nothing. Why would you want to mark it in this way? Having made documentaries, I felt the profundity of the moment and knew that this would make a really brilliant late-night Channel 4 one-off. A caring parent confronting his immature son as he admits making the last of his childhood errors. A moment of reconciliation followed by a visit to have that damn thing removed as soon as the ink is dry. He looked at me straight in the eye and said, I did it because I'm so unhappy. That was a punch I didn't expect. He went on to explain that he loved tattoos and wanted something of his own, something he made his own decision on. That there were many aspects of his life that were out of his control, and that this was the start of being himself. Where before the cameras was set on him, now I had felt I'd become the subject that's what the close-up was that I imagined. The father crumbling, feeling, oh, such an idiot to have not recognized his son's unhappiness, to be so self-obsessed about his feelings that he had ignored the boy. I have that film somewhere. The 2 of us in the car, sitting together. His courage, his emerging identity, staking a claim with such courage and audacity, telling his father, I make my choices now. That's how this goes. That's how this goes. I have some excellent news. Dirty Stupid Wisdom is now available on YouTube. If that's the way you like to listen to your podcasts, just go to Dirty Stupid Wisdom Podcast, and there it is. In other news, there's a blog. I know, but it's different than other blogs. It's called How to Be Less Shit. I feel that the bar is very high when you listen to all these guides. How to improve yourself. I've decided to bring the bar lower. This is just how to be a little less shit. If that sounds like something you need, then I am your guru. You'll find it at dirtystupidwisdom.com. Come on over. Broccoli by Ben Keaton. I bought broccoli. You bought broccoli and butter when I told you that we didn't need them, but no firelighters, which were not on the list, but implicit. We argue about everything. And she takes offense if I wash the floor, an effort to clean the pools of dog piss that she missed. Not a criticism of her, but implicit. What were their names? I don't remember. But it was just yesterday. You were together for 3 days. I don't remember. It's not important. Because I know a name would dress her paranoia and add to the list of my phantom affairs. And the ones that weren't. Not directly, but implicit. Catch you next time.